Hello, it's Julie Green. Most of you are used to seeing me go live or do videos for makeup, so it's not unusual to see me out here. But I'm making this video pretty late at night, and a couple of reasons for that. Number one, it's not live, so if you're watching it, this is not a replay, this is just the first play, because I didn't know if I was going to be brave enough to post it. So I still don't know at this moment as I'm speaking if I'm going to post this or not. But I couldn't sleep. Something was tugging at my heart, telling me that I needed to put this on video while I was thinking of it. So today, I guess we all probably saw the notifications on Facebook and the news and everywhere else about Kate Spade, that she committed suicide. And I'm gonna try not to cry through this video. There's been several instances recently. Some local, a young child committed suicide, and I just kind of felt like I needed to send a message to somebody. I don't know who it is, so if I do post this and I get this brave, you share it, because I don't know who this message is for, but it's for somebody. Surely I wouldn't be having to do this if it wasn't. So most of you that know me now probably did not know me when I was younger, but I'm a pastor's daughter. And as a young child, I was surrounded by church members, family members, people that loved me. I was well taken care of, well loved, and I knew that. So I could walk into church and I could go sit down with anybody in the church and they'd hug me, love me. You know, I had all of those things that you need as a kid. And I was actually really social as a young child in church. I was pretty vocal, probably too vocal in some places. My parents would say I was stubborn because I would tell them what I thought about everything, and I still do that to some degree. But as I got older and I was put into situations where I wasn't the pastor's daughter and I wasn't my parents' child, and I had to all of a sudden become Julie Ramsdell at the time, I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't understand who that person was. I didn't really have an identity. I think looking back, I can kind of see it, of myself. My identity was I was the preacher's kid. And I never worried what people thought about me because I knew they cared about me. And those people probably just still to this day would do anything if I asked them to for me because they loved me. And when I got into situations, I can remember that moment in school, the year where you stop getting kind of herded to the cafeteria with your group of your class and they sit you down in your assigned seats. The year that didn't happen anymore, where all of a sudden I wasn't being told this is where I was going to be, this is who I was going to be next to, this is who was going to talk to me. And I had to kind of reach out to talk to people and make friends and find out who I was going to sit with. It sounds so silly, but I can remember still those feelings. I was terrified. I'm probably going to cry. And I did not do well with that kind of independence. I just didn't really know how to function. And I was worried all the time that because I was just Julie Ramsdell and I wasn't somebody, that these people now had to choose to talk to me or to be my friend, and why would they want to do that? Dang it. We'll see if this gets posted. So I went through several years, I know kind of when those things changed, up until the end of my freshman year, where I really did not talk to very many people. I had very few friends. I can probably name the one or two. I probably had one friend that I would say was a close friend that I could talk to. And then the rest of the friends were kind of friends that I feel like, even still to this day, that my parents kind of gave me. You know, they were my peer level, but they were church members' kids. And so I was put in situations where I might get to spend the night with them or whatever. I never felt like those friendships came from something I offered. So I felt love from those people that love you, but I didn't feel self-worth, which in turn feels like you're not loved, if that makes any sense. And I think it makes sense to somebody out there, or I wouldn't be making this video. And I spent days, I don't know how many times I probably actually went to lunch. That's the easiest example I can explain, where I got up and went into a cafeteria or into the little seating area and sat in the commons and ate. If I did do that, it was usually by myself, or maybe somebody was nice enough to kind of grab me and bring me in, but it certainly wasn't something that I wanted to do. Most of my lunches and social hour, I spent sitting in a bathroom, hiding. We would get these things called Worthy Warriors. If you're from Waxahachie, you're going to know what a Worthy Warrior is. We got Worthy Warrior bucks for doing really good things in school, and I kind of changed my view, and I started talking to teachers. And new teachers were supposed to talk to me. That's their job. So I felt comfortable with them. And I would spend my Worthy Warrior bucks and time, instead of having a free break that they offered us, I would go into my teachers' classrooms and like clean erasers and help them make copies, like whatever I could do to avoid having to have that free social time. I'm still an introvert extrovert, so I was extremely introverted in situations where I felt like somebody had to choose to pick me. And then I was extremely extroverted in places where I felt like this is my place, my home, like church. Very loud and kind of obnoxious probably in those situations. And it was tough. It was really tough. And those days still come back to me, which sounds ridiculous. I would say that I was bullied, and I don't know for sure if I really was. I felt like I was, and I think that's all that matters when people feel depressed and feel that lack of self-worth. It's not necessarily what's happening around them, it's what they feel. So the idea of perception is reality is a true thing in any circumstance. And for me, that was my perception, that nobody wanted to be around me. I felt like people were making fun of me, whether they were or they weren't. Those feelings are still there. And we moved between my freshman and my sophomore year, which was a devastation because I had a friend and I was in a really bad place. I didn't know what I was going to do. And for some reason, I kind of picked myself up and decided I was going to reinvent myself somehow. I don't know what I did. And I just made a decision that I was going to start talking to people. And thank God for my mother, who did something that I was so mad at her about back then. She forced me to try out for the dance team because she talked to a mother of one of my peers in church, and that's how that goes. And I had to, first of all, I never danced before in my life. I couldn't dance. And I had to try out by myself because tryouts had already passed for the year before. So I was all alone. I had to learn a routine, 5 minutes, and I was terrible. I mean, they told me I was terrible. But for whatever reason, by the grace of God, they chose to allow me to be on that team. And that was one of those places I needed. I needed a place. I needed a spot. I needed some place that I knew this is where I belonged. They told me I could come here, right? And I garnered relationships that summer. And over the time, I became more and more outgoing and more of what I am today. But during that time, I also started talking to boys because that's what you do in high school. And I took those feelings of anyone paying attention to me as being a really, really good thing, and I didn't always pick the right boys, just to say the least. So looking back through my high school and college years, all the way up until the first time I got married, many of my feelings of what people thought of me, men especially, were not as much related to what they really were to me as they were someone paying attention to me, if that makes any sense. So I kind of got through those years that way. Ended up getting married, and I hope this doesn't come back to bite me necessarily, because I mean the father of my children is still in their life, still in the picture. He's a good dad, but we probably should never got married, and he'll tell you that. And a lot of that was because I was just so concerned in my life that anyone cared about me. The fact that one person acted like they cared about me and paid attention to me, I just clung to that like immediately. And then over time through our marriage, I became back what I was when I was younger. And I took everything in my marriage and around me as a complete reflection of me. So anything that was, I'm trying to think of the way to say it. I did not have a me. I was the mother, I was the wife, I was the grandchild, the child, the whatever, to people, and I really didn't have my own identity. And so when things didn't go well, when things failed, when there was ever a problem, no matter what it was or whose fault things were, and I'm not talking about just marriage, but in general in my life, I took that as it was me. It was my fault. I didn't do something right. I wasn't good enough. And I got into some really, really dark days. So I thought elementary through the beginning of high school was bad, but my married years were really bad. And I'm not trying to put blame on anybody, but I want people to hear that I internalized everything around me and I only saw the negative things, and I still couldn't find value in myself. So even when I was praised for things at work or praised for things at home, I never heard those things as something that I offered. I heard those as happenstances. That was the environment that was around me. These people made this happen for me. It wasn't me. And everything that was bad was me. Everything. So no matter how much I tried to create this social personality outside for my early teen years and on into my 20s and 30s, it was a compensation for how I truly felt about myself. I think I tried to deflect and be silly and obnoxious and loud, and maybe nobody would notice how I really felt. And I went through some major, major depression. And I can't tell you how many times I had suicidal thoughts. I probably can't even tell you how many times that I got close. There's some people around me that could probably count a couple. People that know me very well. I'm gonna cry, and I'm trying not to cry. Jeez Louise. Long story short, before I did get divorced, because I got divorced and I'm remarried, I ended up going to a counselor, which that seems to happen when people are going through a divorce. And I went to a counselor by myself, and that was the best thing I could have ever done. If anybody is feeling those kinds of feelings, you've got to talk to somebody. And I thought when I was feeling those feelings, I needed to talk to the people that were closest to me. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but I had a hard time separating me, like my identity, from those people that were closest to me. So even if I did talk to them, I couldn't hear it. Like anything that they said, it's like it never actually reflected back on me. If they said something good about me, I couldn't get that. I needed that non-biased person that didn't know me, which is what the Christian counseling service was for me. They didn't know me at all. They asked me questions, they let me talk, and so they were able, for the first time in my life, I was talking to someone that knew nothing and could tell me back what I was actually saying and feeling, and I could hear it and believe it. It took a very long time. I mean, a long time. Even through counseling, I had some major issues with depression and at least one very, very close attempt to suicide. It's tough to talk about. Most of you won't believe me, I'm sure. Not my friends that have known me in probably the last 8 to 10 years may not believe this about me. And I still, have my days where I don't think that I'm good enough, but I have to remind myself of where I am now. But the point being is I had to take that step. It was forced upon me to take that step But I had to take that step to go talk to someone else, somebody outside of my circle, just to listen to me. And it took time. It wasn't something that was fixed overnight. And I don't know if it's ever going to be 100% fixed. I'm always going to have days that I don't feel like it's working, you know? But what I do want to say is from that time to now, which I'm guessing it was about 10 years ago when I had major depression and I was on medication of every kind. I took it all. Believe me, I retried everything. I haven't been on antidepressants in 10 years. Maybe, let's say 9 years. I think it's about 9 years. No antidepressants. So I just have like my bad days and good days like normal people. Occasionally I will have a little meltdown and cry. So that's probably that little depression sinking back in and that stuff in my head that tells me things that aren't true. You know, I'm just as good as anybody else. We all are. But if I had listened to those thoughts, those negative thoughts, any time in those years and followed through with anything, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I think that's what I want you to hear. I am in such a good place. I met an amazing man, married him 8 years. Well, I married him 7 years ago. I met him 8 years ago. So many close friends that cared for me, took care of me, still take care of me sometimes, and a life that I could have never imagined. And I'm not saying that this is about things or stuff. Like, I'm not saying I have a mansion and jet plane or anything like that, but I have this dream that I could not have even tried to dream, if that makes sense. It's not anything special probably to most people, but to me, the place that I'm at now with the people that are around me, the husband that I have, the friends that I have, the life that I have, just the happiness that I have on a daily basis are just things that my thought process could not even conjure up. I could have never imagined being as happy as I am now. Never. So no matter how dark it gets, and I'm telling you, it gets dark, and I got like pitch black, no light. There is another day, and you just have to kind of wait for something. You got to wait for that other day. Don't wake up and think that the way you're feeling right now is impossible to get out of, because it's not. I felt like that. I'm trying not to cry. I really am. Man, I'm hoping I'm brave enough to share this. I don't know what my kids are going to think, or my husband, or anybody else, but there is another day. There just is. It can be better. I don't know what the answer is for you in your moment, in your space, in your situation, or wherever you are. I have been in every type of bad situation you could probably think of. You know, from financially to emotionally. I mean, I feel like I've been through it all. And I've come out on the other side. Nothing that I can say that I did. Like I said, the counseling was kind of forced upon me. But I can't imagine what would have happened if I had followed through with any of those thoughts. And how many lives I would have ruined around me. And when you're thinking that way, you're not thinking about those other people. I know that people say that people that commit suicide are selfish. But when you feel those feelings, and somebody out there is feeling them, that's not what you're thinking. You're thinking that this is the best thing for everyone around you. You're really thinking that. It's illogical. Looking back, I know that it is. But I can also look back and I can remember those feelings. I thought that this is best for everyone, and that there is no better. That if I don't make this decision, that things are not going to improve for anyone. That's how you feel. You feel like you're doing something for someone else, or that there just is no better ever. And neither of those things are true. There are people that will never recover if that's a decision that you make. And it's not better for them. It's not better for anyone. It's not better for you. It's definitely not better for you. And you can have a different life. I think for me, I think I have a pretty darn good life, and people around you will tell you that probably, especially the ones that didn't know me, back in those dark days. Um, but I also believe that the darker your days are, the brighter that light shines. I believe that because I did have those moments in those dark places, that the bright shiny days that I have, I think I enjoy them more. I'm trying to think about the right words to say. I don't take them for granted that I might have if I hadn't had those situations. Not that I want anyone to have those feelings ever so they can have really, really good days by any means, but I just want you to know that just because this is how you feel today does not mean this has to be your forever. There is something better. Go talk to a counselor, contact the suicide prevention line, talk to someone. Don't keep it to yourself. You have to talk to someone. And that was my downfall. I didn't talk to many people about those situations. When I would go to work, I was a totally different person. So the people that I worked with, most of them, unless they were really close friends outside of work, had no idea the things that I was going through, the things that I was feeling, because I carried an entirely different person. I was an actress at work. That would be the best way to say it. I went to work. I knew this is where I was supposed to be, and I put on that cap, and I became that person. Probably saved me at some point, because I had hours in the day where I wasn't sitting there thinking all those other things about myself that I shouldn't have been. But I needed to talk to somebody that wasn't in my inner circle as well. Reach out to the people that love you. They do. There are people that love you. But I think you also need to reach out to somebody that is outside and can look at things from the outside in and give you a different perspective. And sometimes just talking to someone and hearing yourself out loud can change things. And I realized, so it was just kind of crazy. And when I started doing the personal counseling, not marriage counseling, I did just me counseling, and I was able to realize by speaking things out loud that what I was feeling and the thoughts I was having were not my fault. I didn't have zero worth. I had a lot of value, and most of it was self-sabotage to myself. And there's nobody to blame for the feelings that you have usually. I mean, even in situations where I can think of where I could potentially put blame on like a person for a certain situation, no matter what that situation was, I got there because of the things that I felt about myself. I put myself in those situations, and then I didn't choose to get myself out of situations, or I allowed people to treat me certain ways because I felt like that's what I deserved, because I talked negative to myself all the time. And, we all still do that. That doesn't mean you're depressed, not clinically depressed. I was clinically depressed for sure. But I don't think anyone should have that in their heads. We always say, she's better than me, and they have more than that, and I'm not as good as this. And, you're always going to be comparing yourself, and you're always going to be wishing you were something different than you are. Nobody is perfect, and everyone thinks that everybody else is. That's the key. I thought that everybody around me had it together, and no, it's probably not true. Some people I went to school with may not even know me, because for 9 years of high school and not elementary, but junior high and stuff, I hid. I tried not to be around people because I didn't even want people to know I was here. I wanted to be a shadow, just to kind of hide. And then other people will be like, "Are you kidding me? She's like the loudest, most obnoxious, outgoing person I've ever met." We've all got two personalities, and that's kind of where we were. But regardless, I felt like I needed to share this with somebody, because somebody needed to know that no matter how tough it is, no matter how you feel, no matter how long it lasts, no matter what your situation is, there is a better day. There is. I knew, now knowing, going back, that I was depressed probably from like 4th grade to my mid-30s. And it got worse because I didn't stop and recognize it, and I didn't try to help myself. Other than medications, which I'm not saying they were bad, they did help me, but you need to talk to somebody. You need to reach out to someone. Do not be afraid. There are places, there are people, there are resources. If you want to message me and chat with me, I'll be glad to. I will put some resources in the comments. But just don't give up on the happiness that you could have in your future, because today doesn't feel very good. Because I could have done that. I could have given up everything I have, all the people that I have, for no reason. Because I was confused about my identity and my worth. Because that's really what it all boils down to. That's what I feel like my depression was just a lack of valuing myself and knowing, who I was and who I could potentially be, and that I deserved to be happy. It's another thing. I didn't feel like I deserved anything either. So, when you think you have no value and you deserve nothing and you don't deserve to be happy, it's a really hard place to get out of, and it was a really, 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 really difficult place for me to get out of. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without people that were around me, without the counseling, and actually flat out for some people just forcing me to stop and listen and hang on. I mean, to be honest, I have some really amazing friends, and they know who they are, that got me out of some really bad situations in my brain, to say the least. So anyway, that was just on my heart. I could not sleep, and I'm a pretty good sleeper, and I felt like I needed to share that. So if I was brave enough, I'll post this, and hopefully somebody that needs to hear this hears this and knows that there is a better day. Don't throw away a potential for amazing happiness, an amazing life. I would be really mad at myself right now if I had given up what I have now and who I have now. I just cannot even imagine. But I had those moments. So anyway, I love you all. That's what I had to put out there. So anyway, there's some links in the comments for resources if you need them. Just don't give up on yourself, and don't give up on those people around you that probably are trying to help you, and talk to someone. All right, good night or good morning whenever I post this.